Okay, in this chapter we will cover the basics which we will need in this course, and this is in fact functions, and which you have already studied in Math 101 or in FSC or A level. So the first 2 weeks we will cover this chapter regarding function, and we call it chapter 0 because this is just revision from Math 101, and then from the third week we will start the chapter 1, which is in fact the main chapter we'll start our main chapter of this calculus 1. So if you remember, function is a relationship between two sets. Function is like a machine, so you have an input and output. Like a juicer machine, the juices are input and the juice is the output, and the machine itself is a function. But the formal definition of function is that it's a rule that assigns to each element of A exactly one element of B. Here two things are important: each element of A and exactly one element of B. So here each and this exactly one. So each element, this is set A and this is set B. So each element of set A should assign exactly one. It cannot be assigned two elements from set B. And simple example of this one is a relationship between the students of this class and their ages. So let the set A is the set of the student and the set B is the set of their ages. So every student has exactly one age, and no student can say that I do not have any age. So every student has exactly one age, and one student cannot have two ages. So that's why we assign age, exactly one age, to every student. And for notation, formal notation for this function, we write it this f of x, and we read it as f of x. Mean f is a function of x, where x is input, is independent variable, and y is output, which is dependent variable because it depends upon this input, which is independent variable. In this figure, if you see, this f was a function from set A and B, and when your input is A, so f of A will be A is assigned to this number 2. So when input is A, the output is 2. And similarly, when input is B, the output is 1. When the input is C, output is 2. When input is D, output is 3. So these examples of function, every polynomial is a function. Polynomial is algebraic expression in which the power of x is a whole number, like this. Let me write an example. 3x5 plus 4x cube minus 4x square. So this is a polynomial in which the power of this variable is a whole number. Whole number means 0, 1, 2, 3. It cannot be a negative number, it cannot be a decimal number, it should be a whole number. So 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. So different kind of polynomial, like constant polynomial, constant function in which you do not have any variable, identity function in which the input and output are same, then linear function in which the power of x is 1, is a linear function, quadratic function in which the power is 2, and then cube function the power is 3, and similarly any other polynomial like the power 4. So polynomial is a function, mean for every input you will get exactly one output. And similarly radical functions, square root function, cube root function, these are functions. Rational function is any function in the form of polynomial over polynomial. So numerator is a polynomial function and denominator is a polynomial function. So that's a rational function. So rational function is also a function, and some functions are in the pieces. We call it piecewise function, like absolute value function, because by definition absolute, if you remember from Math 101 or FSC, that absolute value is in fact has two parts. It can be x or it can be minus x, depending upon the value of x. If x is positive, then it's equal to itself, and if x is negative, then it's equal to negative of itself. For example, if you have negative 5, what's the absolute value of negative 5? Is 5. Why it's 5? Because this number inside is negative. Okay, so the answer is negative of this minus 5 will be positive. Yeah. So, and like this is another example of a piecewise function in which the function is defined in pieces. Absolute value is also piecewise function. And another example of functions are exponential function. These are exponential function in which the base is a constant number and the exponent, the power, is a variable. Log function, this is log with base b, and this is the natural log, mean the log with base e. And similarly, trigonometric functions, sines, cosine, tangent, cotangent, all of these are functions. Now, what mean by domain of a function? In function you have an input and an output. So domain of a function mean it should be from the input, and range is in fact the output. So now what's the domain? Domain is a set of allowable input, not all the inputs. Set of allowable inputs is called the domain. What mean by allowable input? For example, here, first let me explain this note, and then we will see by examples how to find the domain. Domain of a polynomial function. If you have a polynomial, then the domain is set of all real number. Why? All real line, mean from negative infinity till positive infinity you can cover all numbers. Why? Because in polynomial, whatever you input, you choose the input, you will get an output always. Okay. And for rational function remember is a function in the form of polynomial over polynomial. For example, 2x plus 1 and x minus 1. This is a rational function. So domain of the rational function is again the set of all real number, but with one difference, except the points, those points where the denominator is 0. So this denominator is 0 at 1. Okay. So this 1 is not part of the domain, because 1 is not your allowable input, because at 1 the denominator is 0 and denominator cannot be 0. So for rational function, the domain is set of all real number except the point where the denominator is 0. So you have to exclude it. So if I exclude this, so my domain was from negative infinity to plus infinity, and I want to exclude this one here, so I need this part. So the answer will be minus infinity till 1, not 0 1. 1 is not included, this is open, and then again I need this part, then union, and then again I have to start from 1 till plus infinity. So 1 is neither here nor here, that's why it's open. Okay. So for polynomial function, the domain is set of all real line. For rational function, it's set of all real line minus something, and that something is the points where the denominator is 0. What about the radical one? If this n, the index outside the radical, for in the case of square root you have 2, so 2 is even. So if it's odd, for the case of the odd, it's simple. When n is odd, then you do not have to worry about the domain. The domain is set of all real line. But if this one is even, then you have to take care of whatever you have inside it. So the domain is set of all real line for which your this function inside this square root or the radical, that should be greater than or equal to 0. Because for example, in square root you cannot have a negative sign inside the square root. This will not give you a real number. This will go to what complex numbers, but here we are talking about the real numbers, so it's not a real number. Okay. So whatever you have inside the radical, this should be positive. It can be 0 because square root of 0 is 0. This is allowed, but negative number are not allowed. Okay. So that should be greater than or equal to 0. And in example you will see that how to find the domain. For example, in the first example, if you see this, and this is the notation for domain. D for domain of f of x mean, this notation mean domain of f of x. Here you see that f of x is equal to x cube, which is a polynomial, and we know that by that note that domain of a polynomial is a set of all real line. So we can write it from negative infinity to plus infinity, mean this whole real line is our domain. We can pick point from this whole line anywhere. In the second example, if you see that this is not a polynomial, this is a rational polynomial or rational function. it's a rational function because it's a polynomial over polynomial. So the domain of a rational function, if you remember, is a set of all real number, but you have to exclude something from it, and that something is the point where the denominator is 0. Here the denominator is 0 at 1 and x is equal to 3. So you have to exclude these two numbers from the set of real number. So this is set of real number, and then I have to exclude 1, and then I have to exclude 3. So I need this part, then I need this part, and then I need this part. So from negative infinity till 1, this is the set notation, r minus 1 3, and this is the interval notation. In interval notation, from negative infinity till 1, and then you have to join it with this part, you have to exclude this number. So you will use this union sign, and then from 1 till 3, and then from 3 till plus infinity. So the union of 3 intervals. Similarly, for the radical, here you have radical, and you have radical with index odd. For odd, the domain is set of all real line, but in the case of even, when there is nothing, it's mean it's 2 and 2 is even. Then you have to take whatever you have inside this radical, and you have to set it equal to, greater than, equal to 0, and then you have to solve this inequality. And you know how to solve linear inequality and quadratic inequality, or a polynomial inequality, or a rational inequality from 101. So in this case, it's a linear, it's very simple. X is greater than, equal to 2. It's mean it's from 2 till plus infinity, including 2 is also included. And here, if you see in this example, here you have radical and also the denominator. First you have to take care of this radical. Again, this is the square root. Whatever you have inside this square root, that should be greater than, equal to 0, otherwise it would be a problem. So first of all, whatever you have inside this square root, you have to set it equal to, greater than, equal to 0. Now this is our rational inequality, and you know how to solve it. If you forgot it, I just briefly here explain it, how do you solve the rational inequality. For rational inequality, first of all you have to find the real zeros of the denominator and real zeros of the numerator. Mean you have to set equal to 0 separately, the denominator and the numerator. From the numerator you will get x is equal to minus 1, and from denominator you will get x4 and x is equal to 3. Negative 3. So you have these three numbers. We will plot them from smaller to larger. Okay, now I have 4 intervals here. Here I have 4 intervals. Now I have to choose their signs. And how did I write their sign? Negative, positive, negative, sign positive. I took testing number. I take a number which is less than minus 3, for example minus 4, and I substitute it in this rational function, and whatever I got, that's negative, that's why it's negative. And similarly for the next part, I chose a number from this interval like minus 2, and for this is positive, again this is negative, and this is positive. But at the end we have to choose the positive one. Why? Because we are solving this rational inequality, because since here we have greater than, equal to 0, we have to choose only the positive one, this part and this part. So my answer will be this part union this part. But why minus 3 is open, is not included, but minus 1 is included? Because the point from the denominator can never be 0. So the 4 and minus 3 are from the denominator, that's why they are open, they're not included. But the one which is from the numerator, that is included. Okay, range of a function is just set of the outputs that result x varies over the domain. And operations on function, just like numbers, you can add, subtract, multiply and divide numbers. Same you can do with functions. You can add function, you can subtract function, you can multiply function, or you can divide function. It's simple. But what about their domain? What's the domain of their sum? For example, you have two functions and you added them, and then you want to find their domain. Their domain is in fact the intersection. This means intersection. Intersection means common things. The intersection of their individual domains mean if you want to find the domain of f plus g, it's not necessary to find f plus g. You just need to find the domain of f separately, domain of g separately, and then take their union. Same is for the domain of f minus g, and the same is of n into g, and the same is for f divided by g, but with a difference that here the denominator is g. So the point where g is 0, that point you have to exclude from this intersection thing which you got like this. And here, since f is in the denominator, so the point where your f is 0, you have to exclude that number. I think it will be more clear by the examples. Let's do this example. Here you have to find addition of two functions, subtraction, multiplication, division, and then you have to find their domains, and these two functions are given. Addition is simple. You just have to add these two functions, and you know how to add algebraic expression. Then you will add the like terms. Like the terms mean constant with constant, the x with x square with x square, square root with square root. Here you have this 3 constant and this minus 3 and this 1. They will add, and this you will get minus 2, and this x as it is, and this x plus 1 square root as it is. You cannot simplify it further, okay, because there is no like term in it then. And similarly you can find f minus g, f into g, and f over g, okay. But how about their domain? For their domain you do not have to see the answer, because for the domain the rule is that you need to find the domain of f individually, domain of g individually, and then you have to take their intersection. So you do not need to see the answer whatever you got for f plus g. You need to find the domain of f individually, g individually, and then you have to take their intersection. So what is the domain of g first? For g is simple. G is a polynomial, okay, no radical, no denominator, nothing, so it's a polynomial. The power of x is whole number, so it's a polynomial. So the domain of polynomial is set of all real line from negative infinity till plus infinity. What about this one? Here this 1 is a constant, so it doesn't matter. So let's see the next one. So this is square root, and in square root whatever you have inside, this should be greater than or equal to 0. From here x is greater than or equal to minus 1. So domain of g is set of all real line. This was our domain of g from minus infinity plus infinity. That this part is our domain of g, this whole thing. And the domain of f is, let's here is minus 1. X is greater than minus 1, so this part is greater than minus 1. So the part which is common in both, that will be their intersection. So their intersection will be from minus 1 till plus infinity. This is the part which is common in both. So their intersection will be from minus infinity till plus infinity. Sorry, minus 1 till, and minus 1 itself is included, till plus infinity. So, and since this rule is for all, for f plus g, f minus g, and f into g, so the domain are same. But what about the domain of f of g or g of f? Domain of f of g is the same as we got it for f plus g and f into g or f minus g, but with one difference. What is that difference? You have to exclude the point where the denominator is 0. What is the denominator in this case? G. So you will see that at what point your g is 0. So this is my g. At what point your g is 0? At 3. Okay. So you have to exclude this 3 from this one. So remember what was our domain from negative infinity. This is negative infinity till plus infinity. Negative 1. So this was our domain. Now you have to exclude 3 from here. So you have to start from minus 1, and minus 1 itself is included. And then you have to break till 3, and 3 is open, 3 is not included because you have to exclude 3. And then you have to again start from 3, and 3 is open here again, and 3 till plus infinity. So that will be the domain of f over g. Similarly, you can find g over f. Okay, in the next lecture we will cover the composition function and the inverse function.